The first future I ever built was made out of chart paper and glue. It was class 4 and it was a corner classroom. And I remember the assignment was to make rocket ships. And while the other kids glued together pointy noses and angry flames to their missile like rockets, I made a rocket house with curtains and a swing set in the backyard. And of course, my teacher asked me, why would a spaceship need curtains? And to be very honest, at that age, even I didn't have an answer. So I was like, why not? But as I've grown up, I feel like the right answer would be that I wanted to take the things I loved with me, pretty much like carrying the weight of familiarity in my orbit. Like the smell of my mom's freshly washed dupatta, when the wind goes through it, and the sound of the brass bell on the back door of the house. How lovely. And I feel like maybe, that's what the future is, isn't it? It's not a direction, it's a vessel, and what you pack into it really matters. So, I grew up in a small town of Dehradun, and the future over there was not spoken about like how it's spoken about in big cities. Like on billboards with big fonts that shout of deadlines. Um, we had softer terms for tomorrow, and what we used was kal, which means yesterday and tomorrow. Our past and future intertwined together in a single syllable. And I think that's so beautiful because it's like our lives lived in ellipses. Now, that reminds me of my Nani's sewing box. So, I'm sure you remember this, right? You'll be like, oh my God, this has cookies in it. When you open it, it actually has like this collection of treasures. You would see tangled spools and crooked needles. And you would, like, I remember seeing this thimble that was in the shape of a flower. And it smelled like mothballs and sandalwood. But little did my nanny know that that small box taught me about more about the future than any inspirational talk or like a, trend forecast ever could. It said this very beautiful message, and I think you should carry this in your heart too. You don't throw things away just because they are fraying, you find a way to stitch. Yes, I do have a background in understanding fashion, so maybe that's why this is my takeaway as an adult. And I think the most important thing to understand, because if you look at that box, is that the future is not a shiny object, it's actually a verb, it's a mending act. And now, to be very honest, I think we've been hearing this so much that we have to move fast and break things. What if instead of moving fast and breaking things, we moved with intention and we heal things? And in the process of that, instead of chasing disruption, we chose devotion. And when I say devotion, I mean devotion to people, to slowness, to the kind of beauty that doesn't demand to be noticed, almost like the shadow of a flower on the floor at like 4 p.m. And that kind of really tells you that maybe forging the future doesn't mean predicting it. And I really like to lean into food metaphors and from the tin to the dough. It means you have to shape it very gently, almost like dough in our hands. Now, with that, I have to understand, and I think this is something to take away as well, because future feels like such a kind of a feeling. So I would bring in this comfort for you that the future is not a mystery to solve. Because we always are like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? We have to understand that it's a responsibility to hold. And with that, I have one thing to give away. If you're feeling overwhelmed by what's coming next and what's happening, I have a few things to share with you, and this is what you can do today, tomorrow, and always. The first thing is to choose presence over performance. To make a life on the internet that looks good is kind of nice, but like to build a life which kind of feels good is very powerful and very difficult. Let's try to do that. Then I think you should all learn to notice. These are small things. You should learn to notice the person who got you water, the person who helps you to like drop you in the auto. Say thank you to them. And also, these are the small things that really matter. Because from my experience as an adult, attention is a political act. It tells people that they matter. Now, with that, I think we should also really practice repair, like the box that I was talking about. You have to say sorry, you have to say thank you, and you have to ensure that you're also fixing the things you've been putting off. Oh, I'm going to do that tomorrow in the future. And not just the objects, but also relationships. And also, you need to make space for voices that are not yours, for stories that are challenging, and most importantly, for rest. I'm a big advocate for rest. And after lunch, I felt like napping, so I had a lot of coffee. Then we have to build small systems of care. We have to share our resources. We have to recommend our friends. Say the name of your friends in an empty room where people would actually give them work when they need it. We have to probably look forward to cooking for our friends, neighbors, people who need it. And this way, we make community more tangible. And as a creative, I get asked this question a lot. What's next? Like today? I think a more important question is that what deserves to last? With that, I think there's this one memory that is so striking. There used to be this boy who used to sell chana outside my college. And it was this routine thing. Every day, same spot, same metal clanking on the tin, and his voice slicing through the traffic. One day he showed up with this new fancy cart with a canopy, and it looked like one of those Mela carts. And I asked him how he felt about this. He said, Ab izzat mili hai. And in simpler terms, it just means that he felt seen. And I think that's the kind of future we should be forging, where being seen is not a luxury, it's a given. And dignity is not sort of like the space that you want to like dream about, but it's a design principle of our society. But forging also requires grief. To admit that we are going to build something better, we have to understand what we've broken. The languages we let die, the rain we stopped tasting, the parts of ourselves we muted in the name of efficiency. And one really important thing to carry away is that grief is not the opposite of vision, but it's the cost of clarity. Now, this is something that I have grown up with, and I think all of you should also take this back because this is what my mom says, and what your mom says is very important. So, every decision you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. And I kind of was like, oh, no, mom, I think life is made up of big cinematic choices. You know, all of the big threes, not like your horoscope, but like the career, marriage, moving cities. But now I know that it is made up of really small choices. Whether you choose to listen to someone when they talk without checking your phone, or whether you want to say sorry when you could have said nothing. And if you're wondering in this room, what is your role, maybe in justice, in tech, in climate, and in art, let me offer you this. Your role is to love. And not in the Valentine's Day kind of way. Your role is to sort of love in a way that pays attention. And that's the kind of future we need to look forward to. And I'm not saying that we should give up on ambition. I think we should have an ambition that includes others. And I think we should not disregard progress, but I feel like it should be measured more than just capital, but also in terms of care. And I feel like the future doesn't need to be a soft place. I'm just saying it needs to be like a just place. And growth is not measured by the speed of things. I feel like that's something we all do. Ki kitni jaldi kaam ho raha hai? How fast is the progress? But the depth of the process, like how long lasting is this growth? And if you look at nature, things take their time because there is a way things grow. And I also feel like this is something I wish someone told me when I was younger, but intelligence isn't about how fast you answer, but it's about how well you listen. So if you heard all the TED Talks today, you would realize that listening is a really important part of intelligence. And this is something I believe in really, really deeply because leadership is not about how loudly you speak, even if you have two mics. It's about how deeply you notice. Like I said, attention is a political act. It shows people that you care. And with this, we have to understand, of course, the future is coming and it's coming really fast. And this is a future where you have to learn to love complexity, not fear it. And with that, I think this is also the future where we hold grief and joy in the same palm. And this is the most important thing. Now I'm going back to that little tin with the thin, like the needles and the threads again and again. But we have to do the quiet work of repair, whether it's personal, whether it's cultural, or it's planetary. Very, very important, the last one. And with that, I have a gift for you. And the gift is that we don't have to find the future. It's a future that we have to choose over and over again. And if it's a choice, I would really recommend, if you take my word for it, that you choose tenderness, you choose accountability, and you also choose to pay attention to the boy who sells chana outside your college. And because who we are is what we did, and what we do now is who we will become. And I'm very aware that's very Backstreet Boys coded, but maybe that's the future. And this is the last thing I want to say before I say goodbye, is that the future is not an escape plan. It's a love letter. And if it's a love letter, we must write it honestly. We must write it with full attention. And most importantly, we should write it right now. Thank you so much.